This is the Louie Tee Network.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie Tee. Welcome. You are here in the lab room, lockdown coverage, covering the entire National Football League like a blanket. I, of course, am your man, Louie Tee. Thank you for joining me on this program as I continue to break down every single matchup from week 1 of the National Football League. San Diego Superchargers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs in week 1 AFC West family business. If these two teams say they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, that's family business. So, before I get to this matchup and this epic showdown in week 1, let's first welcome all new visitors to this channel. Welcome. Hola. Mi casa, su casa. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Louie Tee Network for more great content all throughout the season and moving forward. Also, I'm on Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. Give me a thumbs up there. And also, I'm on Twitter. At In the Lab Room is the Twitter handle. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter for more updates to future programming. That being said, let's jump into this breakdown of Chargers and Chiefs. This was an epic finish, and for a long time, this game looked like it was out of reach, and I was flabbergasted as to how we had gotten to this point until I watched the game and actually saw what went down and what transpired in this football game. Let's get to the likes, dislikes, banana in the tailpipe in this football game for both teams. We'll start with the lights in the first half. Always like to start with the visiting team, that being the San Diego Chargers in this game. And I like the opening drive of the football game. They got Tyrell Williams involved. He's a guy with a lot of speed, man. It was funny on this particular play. He's dragging across the field, and Phillip Rivers throws it slightly behind him. He's under duress on that particular play. He reaches behind him, grabs the football, turns around, and then just starts sprinting past defenders. And I'm like, you're not going to catch him? You got the angle. You're not even going to touch him? And he ran by two Chief defenders before the last one was able to push him out of bounds, or else he was gone. And it even looked like he was running fast, but he was hauling ass. So he's another guy that I'm very intrigued with. I said that in the third preseason game. I'm like, man, I want to see more of this Tyrell Williams cat. Now, we saw him in this game. He made 2 huge plays, one on the opening possession that helped Melvin Gordon III get in the end zone, and he looked good on the opening possession as well, and actually looked good throughout this football game. And he's gaining confidence. You can see that. And he capped off this opening drive with his first rushing touchdown. Hell, his first NFL touchdown of his career. Good for him. Melvin Gordon and his Chargers offense is the next like. In the first half, they were dynamic. They took a 21-3 lead into the halftime break. They did whatever they wanted to do in the first half of this game offensively. They ran the football with authority. Melvin Gordon was bouncing off tacklers, breaking tackles, getting yards after contact, looking dynamic, but also showing a bit of patience and balance. And I just thought he looked like the guy that they traded up to draft in the first round of the 2015 NFL draft. And then this offense was just balanced, like I said. Phillip Rivers spreading the football around to a bunch of different receivers, guys getting involved. Keenan Allen, before his injury, catching the football. He had a little verbal spat back and forth throughout the game with MP Double Deuce, the Kansas City thief, Marcus Peters, before he ended up going down with an injury. But he was doing work out there along with Benjamin and the rest of those guys. They really controlled the tempo and pace of the first half offensively, and they were just moving the football at will in the first half of this football game. Also a light for me in the first half, defense. Okay, we talked about this Chargers offense and how prolific they were in this game, but let's not forget the defense. The score was 21-3 for a reason. They were forcing punts. As a matter of fact, they were able to force the Chiefs after the opening possession where the Chiefs were able to score. They were able to force them to punt the football the remainder of the first half. So they were making plays were the Chargers on the defensive side of the football. And they were out there getting after Alex Smith. They slowed the running game down. Spencer Ware actually started to heat up in the second half. We'll talk about him a little bit later on. But this Chargers defense really ratcheted it up on Alex Smith, made him uncomfortable. And because of that, kept the Chiefs out of situations that they were comfortable converting. You know they like to stay ahead of the sticks, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 4. They kept them in uncomfortable situations, put some pressure on Alex Smith, made him get rid of the football faster than he wanted to. And then even times when he had time, because there was so much pressure and he was under such duress, he was missing guys and throws that he would usually make in his sleep. So give this Chargers defense some credit. I like them in the first half of this game. And really the dominance that the Chargers exerted in the first half is my last like for them in the first half of this game. Up 21-3 on the road against Kansas City, a team that most of us, hands raised, that means I'm included, thought that was going to be the dominant team in this division in the Kansas City Chiefs, and you go into their house and punch them in their mouth in the first half of this game. Bravo to the San Diego Chargers. Let's go to the likes for the Chiefs in the first half, and there weren't many. It was just one. And that was the opening possession, getting a field goal. Cairo Santos knocking home a 47-yard field goal. That's it. That's all I got for you in the first half. The Chiefs did nothing of the sort to make anyone feel confident that they were coming back in this game. The first half was abysmal. No offensive production, no tempo, no rhythm, no defense. And that was the thing that surprised me the most. Not that the offense was struggling. That can happen when you're a dink and dunk offense, when you're a nickel and dimer offense that lacks explosive playmaking ability. You can get shut down. It can happen. But the defense was supposed to come to the party ready to go. All right, that's what we've come to expect from this Kansas City Chiefs football team, is that the defense is going to show up no matter what the hell the offense is doing, no matter what special teams is doing, defense is going to show up to play. Well, they didn't show up in the first half, and that was the thing that was most alarming to me. Let's get to the dislikes for the first half for both teams. And for the Chargers, they didn't do anything wrong in the first half. Their only dislike for me was Keenan Allen going down late in the second quarter, and what we ultimately found out was a torn ACL, done for the season, and that's a crushing blow. And I actually sent out a tweet during the game when I found out that it had happened, and I said, even when the Chargers are winning, and they were up 21-3 at the time, I said they still lose, and I was referencing Keenan Allen going down with the ACL tear, going to be out for the remainder of the season. Big blow to them, because I felt like if he could stay healthy, remember they lost him to a lacerated kidney last year, and really once he went down, then Phillip Rivers had to find other targets to get the football to. You always want to have that one guy that you can trust, that one alpha male that puts everybody else in their proper slots. For the Chiefs, the Chargers, that guy is Keenan Allen, KA13. He's no longer going to be a member of that offensive weaponry for this season. Going to be tough to see how they replace him. No one guy is going to be able to do it, but I think if they all come in and contribute, like we saw from Tyrell Williams in this game, Dontrell Inman, if all these guys can contribute, you should be fine. In San Diego, you were fine last year when Phillip Rivers set a career high for passing yardage in his career. The first half dislikes for the Chiefs. Their defense. Just a blanket statement. Their entire defense was terrible the first half. They didn't do a great job of stopping the run. They weren't tackling well. I kept seeing Melvin Gordon bouncing off of defenders and getting yards after contact. They had their way in the passing game. Phillip Rivers was comfortable. He was hitting multiple receivers. They were getting yards after the catch. I thought that Keenan Allen had gotten into the head of Marcus Peters. He picked up a face mask penalty, almost got another one when Keenan Allen's helmet came off. Andy Reid had to pull him off the field and talk to him. I just felt like this defense just wasn't where they needed to be mentally. No pass rush on Phillip Rivers. They were just too comfortable, were the Chargers, in the first half. And that was because this defense wasn't making them uncomfortable in the first half of this game. And then the other dislike was the Chiefs' offense. Their defense was bad. Their offense was bad. At one point in this game, the Chiefs offensively had 5 consecutive punts, okay? They weren't sustaining any type of offense. They weren't giving their defense any breathers. It was really a catch-22 for them. They weren't doing anything on the offensive side, and because of that, the defense kept getting put on the field, and they were struggling, and it was just this never-ending, repeating cycle, and the Chargers were taking advantage of all the opportunities that they were given in that first half. Let's get to the likes for the second half from both teams. And you start with the Chargers. Tyrell Williams is my like, my first like of the second half. He's a guy that I think is emerging as a real target for Phillip Rivers in his offense, and he's got some playmaking ability to him. I see some big plays in his future because it doesn't take much. Once he gets a little bit of a seam and he starts going, he's one of these build-up speed guys, but once he gets going at top speed, this guy is moving. He's tall, he's long, takes big strides and big steps, so he eats up a lot of ground quickly. He looks like a guy that is poised and primed to start making some plays for this Chargers offense. Got my eye on Tyrell Williams. And with this injury to Keenan Allen, I'm not a fantasy football guy, but I'd be one of those people. He'd be one of those guys I'd be looking to put a waiver claim in to pick up because I think he's going to start getting targeted more, and I think he has some potential to start making some plays for this offense. Jason Verrett's interception. This is why I love Jason Verrett, okay? This interception was ridiculous. All right, so he's in man-to-man coverage with Jeremy Maclin across the middle of the field, and Alex Smith puts the football right on Maclin, and Verrett is right in the hip pocket of Maclin behind him, looking to swipe the football away, and the ball literally bounces off the chest plate of Maclin, and somehow in swiping for the ball, Verrett ends up with it in his arm and gets up and starts running. I'm like, you didn't catch that, man. Stop your nonsense. Looked at the replay. Yeah, he caught that. I'm like, wow, man. That's why Jason Verrett has to stay healthy because he's so dynamic. He's a playmaker. He's always right there. Love Jason Verrett and what he brings to the table. That was an outstanding interception. It was so unfortunate because they weren't able to take advantage of that interception. We'll talk about that in a second, but those were my likes for the Chargers in the second half. Let's get to the likes for the Chiefs in the second half and into overtime because that's where this game was won for them. They made this epic comeback all in the second half and into overtime. Spencer Ware, for me, the player of the game without a shadow of a doubt. Without Spencer Ware, there is no comeback. There is no Kansas City Chiefs victory. He led this team not only in rushing, he also led them in receiving, and it wasn't close. He was dominant in the passing game, more so than he was in the running game, and he also had an impact on the ground. So I just thought Spencer Ware was phenomenal in this football game, and the way he caught the football out of the backfield was so incredible because it seemed like the Chargers fell asleep behind the wheel. They let this guy run over the middle of the field. There was one play out of the backfield where he runs an arrow route. Nobody picks him up. Picks up a huge gain, and that kind of got the party started for him. He's catching passes down the sideline. He's catching passes out in the flats, making guys miss, getting up the field, running through arm tackles, powering for extra yardage after contact. Spencer Ware was phenomenal in this football game. Definitely the player of the game for the Kansas City Chiefs. Big defensive stop by the Chiefs to force a field goal after the interception. I just talked about that Verrett interception, and they needed that stop at the time because, if I'm not mistaken, they were just on the way to trying to get something going. They had just scored a touchdown to give them a chance to start having a little bit of life, and then they get the interception. And if they give up a touchdown or even a remote drive there, I'm talking about they still end up giving up a field goal, but they let the Chargers run off 3, 4, 5 minutes of the clock, they lose this football game. It's over. They needed a stop then and there, and they got it and forced a field goal. And not only did they force a field goal, I'm going to talk about what happened when they forced that field goal. But that was a big stop for this Chiefs defense. They didn't have many in the first half. They needed that stop, and they got it. And that kind of jump-started a little bit of defensive swagger, which they needed to turn it up, to start getting stops and getting the offense back the ball and giving them a chance to come back in this game. Scoring on 4 straight possessions, 5 out of 6 in the second half and into overtime to give them a chance to tie this game up in regulation and win it in overtime. I talked about 5 straight punts. How about 4 straight scoring possessions and 5 out of 6 possessions you score on in the second half and into overtime to win this football game? That's how you respond. That's how champions respond. They could have laid down. This game could have been over. If they wanted it to be, this game could have been over. All right? But they had other ideas. They never quit in this game. And even when they were down 27-10 in the fourth quarter, it still looked like it was over. It still looked like a long shot. These guys kept scratching and clawing away. And you looked up, they were down 10. You looked up, they were down 7. You looked up, it was a tied ball game. And that's a credit to Andy Reid. That's a credit to the players on the field. You lose Macklin at the end of the game to a hit that ends up giving him a concussion. You still motor on, get in the end zone, win in overtime. Give some credit to this Chiefs team for perseverance. Okay, they could have quit in this game. Down 27-10 in the fourth quarter. That's a daunting task for anybody. I don't care how good you are, especially when it's a family member. Could have been easy for them to say, you know what? We'll figure it out next week. They didn't do that. They got it together and they found a way to scratch and claw their way back into this game and ultimately steal this game from the San Diego Chargers. Let's go to the dislikes for both teams in this game. We'll start with the San Diego Chargers in the second half. Missed 54-yard field goal by Josh Lambo. That's the field goal that I was talking about after the interception by the cornerback, Jason Verrett, that gave them some great field position. They weren't able to do anything with it. As a matter of fact, they essentially stonewalled them where they were, did the Chiefs defensively, forced them to kick a long 54-yard field goal. Josh Lambo had been perfect on the day until he missed from 54 yards. And again, that gave the Chiefs great field position. And again, the thought and the mentality and the belief that we can do this. Okay, that miss was huge because if he makes that field goal, they don't get the great field position that comes along with the missed field goal. And not only that, it puts another 3 points on the board and makes it that much tougher for you to come back. At that point in the game, that would have made it 30-10. They're not coming back at that point in the game. Poor punt by Drew Kazar. He struggled. He's a rookie. You're going to have these. It's the growing pains of a rookie. You're hoping that he's better. But he had a poor punt that also aided the Chiefs in getting some great field position. And again, when you're down by that much with such little time, you need some breaks. You need a missed field goal to give you great field position. You need a bad punt to give you some great field position. You need short fields so that it doesn't take you a long time to score, especially when you're a non-explosive offense like the Chiefs are, when they have to matriculate the ball down the field. You need short fields to help you cut that time in half. And Drew Kazar and his poor punt help them along the way. When you come back down by 3 scores or more, you need help from the other team. They got it in this game. Missed field goal, poor punt, and the inability of this Chargers defense to get stops, and then the offense in conjunction not sustaining drives in that late third quarter to fourth quarter where the comeback took place. Their defense morphed into the Chiefs of the first half. They couldn't get any stops. They couldn't get off the field on third downs. Even when it was fourth down, they couldn't get stops there either. Their defense couldn't get the Chiefs off the field, couldn't stop them from getting in the end zone. They only did it that one time when they forced them to kick a field goal. Their offense, and this was probably even bigger than the lack of production from the defense, if the offense could have just sustained some drives. And this is what you see with teams when they get a big lead. They turn the switch off. I saw it in the Tampa Bay Atlanta game from week 1. Atlanta down 31-13. They make a furious comeback. They fell short. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers turned the offensive switch off when they were up 31-13. Once you turn that switch off, you can't turn it back on. So don't turn the switch off. Just keep pounding that team into oblivion. And the Chargers simply turned the switch off. They were up big. They thought they had this game in hand. They stopped being aggressive on the offensive side of the football. And for some reason, they just couldn't get it back going. And just like that, they couldn't sustain drives, which put their defense, who was tired, back on the field. They were giving it up, which put the offense back in control and said, hey, you need to do something. Stop the bleeding. They couldn't stop the bleeding. And next thing you know, the defense was hemorrhaging and this game was tied and going to overtime. And you know, once a team comes back from that far down and takes it to overtime, the team that allowed it to happen, they're done. You're done. You're not going to win the football game because mentally you're done. You're shot. And the Chiefs, once they won that coin toss, I knew this game was over. So my dislikes for the Chiefs in this game in the second half, the Alex Smith interception, I already talked about that. Great play by Jason Verrett. Give him credit for taking the football away from Macklin. And the Macklin concussion was my other dislike. Got hit in the head late in the ball game, catching the football over the middle, had to leave. Don't know what his situation is, but he's a guy that has had concussions in the past, so I worry that this could linger for a little while and he may not be back next week. He may not be back the week after that. This could be one of those situations that lingers. Let's hope that it's a mild concussion, that not one that will have lingering effects that will keep him out for an extended period of time. But that's going to do it for this breakdown. I have no bananas in the tailpipe for these two teams. I will say, though, I don't expect the Chiefs to be what they were offensively in this game. Remember I joked, so I do actually have a banana in the tailpipe for the Chiefs. Remember I joked in the third preseason game, Alex Smith threw the football 30 times in the first half. And I said, he'll never do that again. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if he'll surpass 30 to 35 attempts in any game this season. Remember I said that? Well, this game called for Alex Smith to have to throw the football. 34 of 48 for 363 yards for captain check down and 2 scores to match. Look, say what you want about Alex Smith, but when they needed him to step up in this game, he was able to do it with his right arm. Big performance by the Chiefs. I don't expect them. That's not who they are as a football team, okay? They're not going to throw it 48 times on most weeks. So that is my banana in the tailpipe for the Chiefs. They're not a pass-happy football team. They had to be out of necessity in this game. I look for them to revert back to running the football. Spencer Ware was outstanding in this game. You're going to get Jamal Charles back here any second now. I expect them to get back to the ground game as their primary source of production on the offensive side of the football. So that's going to do it for this breakdown. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. I do have one comment, so I'll go ahead and read that before we go. Andrew Kim says, sucks Allen tore his ACL. I think the Chargers season is over. Rivers doesn't have any weapons other than Benjamin. Gordon improved, and are the Chiefs' defense concerning without Houston? I think to answer your first question, I don't think the Chargers season is done. They didn't have Keenan Allen for much of the season last year, and Phillip Rivers set career highs in passing yards with a much worse offensive line. The line actually looked good for the majority of this game. And with the addition of the running game and how it's improved, I think that's going to take some of the pressure off of Phillip Rivers. I think they got enough weapons. I think you're underrating what they have out there as guys that can catch the football in San Diego. I think they're going to be okay. It hurts. It's a devastating blow, no doubt about that. But I think they'll be fine when it's all said and done. But as far as the Chiefs' defense is concerned, they missed Justin Houston, but they can survive without him. D Ford has to step up. Tamba Hali has to step up. They got to be better on the interior. They can't allow teams to run the football. That's where it starts for the Chiefs up front, where they spend money a lot of times in draft picks. You got the young fella that you drafted in the second round. You need him to come in and be a force. Don Terry Poe and company. You need all these guys to step up and stop the run. They didn't do that in this game. The Chiefs defensively are good when they stop the run on first and second down and force you into third and long, pin their ears back, and that's when a guy like Tamba Hali can get after you. That's when D Ford can come after you. That's what they need to do. They didn't keep the Chargers in third and long in this game. It was third and manageable for the most part, and that kept them off balance. They'll be better. I expect them to be better defensively moving forward. I don't think they're that bad. Let's see. Got another comment. Steve Horton says, Macklin came back into the game. So did Cam Newton. And he had a concussion. So I don't really know what that means. I do know that he had to leave the game and he was evaluated. But I never trust them when they say, oh, a guy's fine. He may be fine for the moment, but we'll see. I hope he's fine. I really do, because when he's in that offense, they're that much better. So I'm hoping that it's not something that's going to keep him out. But you know how those concussions can go. Let's hope that he's okay. And so that is it. It's going to do it for me on this breakdown. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League lockdown coverage. Got a couple more games to break down, including the next one, Seahawks and Dolphins. I'll be here. Got 2 more contests to break down. I'll see you a little bit later on. It's been lockdown coverage with your man Louie Tee. We're changing the game, one live feed at a time. See you later on.